Time for the Pucking Around podcast. Puck around and find out. Puck around and find out. Hey, everybody. It is the Pucking Around podcast. The Stanley Cup, it's not the finals, but they're about to start in, I think, 5 days from now. So the third round just ended last night with the Edmonton Oilers beating the Dallas Stars in 6 games. So we're going to have a talk about that. We're going to talk about we'll wrap up the third round. We're going to give you our, I think for me, it's a bit of an updated Stanley Cup final prediction. There's a writer, I don't know that he's well known, but just released his first round draft rankings, and especially the top 10, and they're a little different than you've probably seen. So we're gonna look at that. We're gonna talk about the draft rankings a bit, and also the NHL Combine started today. It runs through June 8th, and we're going to talk about not the results yet because they're not out, but the importance of the Combine on the teams and the influence of it in their draft picks. We're going to do that. And to do that with me on my, look, I'm going to get it right. Over there, that's Alex Frenet.
¿Cómo estás, everyone?
And above me there, that is Matt Norton.
What's up?
And look, I'm getting it right. And last but not least, right up over there is the chip guy, Harry Rice.
Hello, everybody. Buy the rice chips.
There's only one bag made, so he's been trying to sell it for about a year now. Still has not succeeded. So
Might be
help
longer than that.
our friend make $1.
Might be a little longer than that. All right, so the third round wrapped up last night with Edmonton winning over Dallas. And I think for everybody, I know me and Alex, we had Dallas winning that. I know that. So a bit of a shock, and it screwed up my bracket. Although out of 14 series, I've only missed 2. Not bad.
I've lost track of my bracket.
Not bad. So Edmonton and Florida are in the Stanley Cup final. What do you guys think? Do you guys watch much of the 2 series at all? Because I watched
more the Panthers and the Rangers.
I watched
me
a
too.
bit of both.
I'm in a little bit of both. I really concentrated more on the Dallas series because I had a parlay in for Dallas and the Celtics to win their and it's dead.
How do we get to basketball? Oh, the parlay.
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, Alex and myself being in Boston, we're paying a lot of attention to basketball too.
Yeah, Harry and I not. Right, Harry? Just
No, not really. Not since the Raptors have been shit.
Okay, even if they were good, I wouldn't really be. Okay, but that's neither here nor there because this is a hockey podcast. So, I mean, what did you, Harry? What did you think of what you saw?
From what I saw of the Oilers and Stars series, I'll get that one out of the way because I didn't see too much. Dallas was the better team for the first 3 games, and the last 3 games, their offense just completely dried up. I think they scored 1 goal for the hockey guy. I know he put it on his board for the last night's recap. I think it was 2 goals in the last 178 minutes or something like that, and you cannot win hockey games scoring 1 goal a game. You cannot expect Jake Ottinger, as good as he is, to get a shutout night in and night out. The Oilers' offense was just a little bit too suppressing for the Stars to handle, especially with Leon Draisaitl.
Not last night. They only had 10 freaking shots on net.
Well, no, I was getting to that, Matt. And last night's game, of course, they get outshot something like 75-3 or something like that. No, it was like 38-10.
35-10.
35-10. Thank you.
So there were 2 records there, by the way. The least amount of
shots in a playoff win, right?
And a playoff win ever in the league. And the 25-shot difference was 2 more than the last biggest difference in shots.
No, it was 1 shot more.
No, 23-20. What I saw today was 23-25. That was the difference.
Wow.
That's what I saw.
Oilers.
That's what I saw.
Oh, are you talking about the shot total of the winning team or the shot differential?
The difference between
I'm sorry. I misinterpreted that. I apologize for cutting you off, Harry. I just wanted to clear that up.
Don't worry. I'm used to it.
You don't speak.
Us Canadians, the loud, brash Americans just always overtalk us Canadians.
Exactly. But last night Dallas deserved to win. I don't care what the score was. They should have beaten Stuart Skinner for at least 3 goals. They had some fantastic chances. They hit about 75 posts in that game as well. Jason Robertson, I think, hit 2 by himself. It was just.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I thought they were outplayed. I thought Edmonton outplayed them.
The Stars? No.
Dallas
35 shots.
Edmonton last night.
Even with only 10 shots, Edmonton outplayed them defensively and totally.
No, they didn't.
Stifled
that game was
them,
owned by Stuart Skinner.
The Oilers only won a lot of shots because of the power play.
They did get a lot of shots. I do agree. But I don't know. I just thought Edmonton was the better
Edmonton,
team.
I think, had 1 shot in the final period.
Yeah, but still, overall, I thought they were the better team.
Maybe for the regulation of the series, just not last night. Last night it was Stuart Skinner.
I'm surprised none of you are saying that I'm brain dead or something.
Oh, I mean, that goes without being
I didn't watch
said.
the game.
But
no, I mean, Stuart Skinner played a great defense. It said your best defense is a good offense, and your second best defense, I'm saying this, is a good goaltender. Stuart Skinner's not a good goaltender, but he pretended to be one last night, and he got the job done.
You say pretended, but listen, all you need is a hot goalie to win in the play, and he's now gotten hot at the right time to end. Like I think that there's
of all goaltenders too, because we know how awful he was in the regular season.
He just reminds me of Chris Osgood a bit back when Detroit was winning cups, and Osgood, who was he? And he was still.
I mean, Osgood was a starter at least. Chris Osgood was
the
respectable
starting 5 lineup in my lifetime.
I always thought he was very overrated. Yet he won cups with Detroit.
He had the best team in front of him that I've ever seen.
He did win. He was the starter in '98. Played 2 games. In 97 in the playoffs. He won in 08, finals in 09. Weirdly, he was with the Islanders for the 02 Cup run, so poor Chris Osgood. But, he was a good goaltender. He never really put up garbage stats except 1 year in St. Louis where he only played 9 games, which, can you really say that's a bad season?
But what I'm saying is that he's kind of reminds me of that. So, you know what? Doesn't mean he can't win a cup.
Yeah, no, it's just that he won't.
I don't know about that.
The way you look at the Oilers,
that feeling now going in, Edmonton's going to beat Florida.
I'm the exact opposite way. I think with the way that the Oilers played last night, they played horrible. They had 10 shots on net, which you cannot expect to win a hockey game with just 10 shots on net. They got extremely lucky that the refs gifted them 2 power plays in the first period.
In the other 5 games, did they only have 10 shots or anything like that? They got shots.
No, they did.
One game. You're talking about one game.
Keep in mind, they were playing a team coached by Peter DeBoer. Peter DeBoer is not a good playoff coach. He is not a good special teams coach. The Oilers had a half-decent penalty kill, which turned into a phenomenal penalty kill. Peter DeBoer sucks on the power play.
Well, we're going to see. I mean, in my bracket, I've got Florida, obviously.
Yeah, for me, though, just when you look at the Oilers, you look at the lack of depth on that team. You shut down McDavid, Draisaitl, and Bouchard. They basically have nothing. You have to worry about a line and maybe a half. If Evander Kane decides he wants to show up that night or just be a...
You're probably right. I just have this gut feeling they're going to win.
But if I could finish, if you also look at the depth on that team, Ryan McLeod has 1 goal in 17 games. Derek Ryan has 1 assist in 14 games. Sam Carrick has 1 assist in 9 games. Vincent Desharnais has 1 assist in 15 games. Corey Perry has 1 assist in 13 games, which I get. His role out there isn't to provide offense anymore, but he's still a -2. Vincent Desharnais is a -8. Darnell Nurse has 3 assists and is a -13.
I'm really sorry I brought this up. Jesus.
No, don't worry.
Gary hates the Oilers if you haven't realized it.
I hate the Oilers, and also I have proof to back that up. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Bouchard, you shut these guys down. Yes, their leading scorer is still Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who should be a #1 center in the NHL. It sucks that he's been reduced to being a third-line center most nights because they have the most overrated center in the league and Leon Draisaitl. But you look at the Oilers, their lack of depth will be the Florida Panthers are salivating, thinking of how they're going to be able to dominate that bottom six. You play defensively well against the Edmonton Oilers. You go call Philip Deneau, ask him, hey, 2021, how did you defend Connor McDavid? Get some advice from him. They're shutting down. I know we're not predictions yet. Panthers in 5. I do not see how the Edmonton Oilers even get close to winning the Stanley Cup this year. I don't even know how the hell they're in the finals. To be fair, they played an LA team who was in way over their head. They played a Canucks team who got screwed out of a conference finals, and then they beat a Dallas Stars team who, again, stubborn Peter DeBoer, horrible power play coach, and a horrible playoff coach. I can't see how the Edmonton Oilers come into the series and win anything more than maybe 2 games. Goaltending, Panthers are way better with Sergei Bobrovsky. I much prefer the Florida Panthers defense because they actually have a core. Their top 6 is much better overall. Their bottom 6 is actually a unit who doesn't just go out there to waste time on the ice. For me, and special teams as well, even with the Oilers power play or penalty kill being phenomenal because of that last series, the Florida Panthers have one of the best power plays in the league. They have a fantastic penalty kill. The Florida Panthers are going to sweep the floor with the Edmonton Oilers in my books. I can't see how the Oilers have any chance of winning a Stanley Cup.
Did anybody put a timer on that one?
I should have put up a timer.
That's my first rant.
I also want to say, opinionated much there, Harry?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
Talk about something that Harry
Is that not what the show is
like
for?
lighting
Is
a
this
fire
to
on
express
the
the opinions?
friggin'
I
oil.
just bug you. A good, strong opinion there, I got to say.
Thank you.
I can only just say that it's not for me. It's not about all that. It's a gut feeling. That's all.
That's fair.
Does it mean it's going to happen? I mean, no, doesn't mean it. But I also think Canadian teams kind of do, and sometimes when you're due like that, it goes beyond reason how you win, but you end up winning. So I'm going with that, but I'm going to stick by my bracket and say no. I've got the Florida Panthers as the winner. We'll see. We'll see which Richard. Which I was going to call myself Richard. I don't know where that came from. We'll see which Rick is right.
I guess I'll go next. I watched a good amount of that series. I mainly more listened on the radio because it kept playing on days I couldn't really watch. One thing that really stood out for me with Dallas, especially in the last, Harry, you were the last person to have that fucking phone out after what you just did. The thing that came out for the Stars at me is they just could not get off to good starts. They seemed like they were slow out of the gate, especially the last 3 games. I think they had 7 shots or less in each of the 3 final games in the first period. And their penalty kill completely dried up, especially in the last 2 games. One crazy statistic that I noticed going into Game 6, Dallas was 13 for 14 on the kill on the road, 11 for 20 on the kill at home. They could not kill penalties off at home, and then it started even leaking onto the road in that final game. Edmonton's power play was the massive difference in this. They got killed special teams wise. Dallas just got stuck in their own end. They kept getting off the bad starts in those last couple games, and they kept digging themselves into holes. Game 4 was a little bit – Game 3 and 4 kind of flip-flop from each other. Edmonton jumped out to a 2-0 lead, then forgot how to hockey in the second period, and Dallas completely mopped the floor with them in the second period, leading to that Game 3 win to go up 2-1. And the roles completely flipped in Game 4, where Dallas jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Right. Edmonton found that game and ended up winning that game. I believe it was 5-3. And it was funny because Harry said every game was going to end 2-1 from there. And the next game ends up being 5-3. I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, I got to partially agree with Harry with a couple of points. The Stars their offense completely dried up. And when you're playing against a team like Edmonton that has elite high-end talent like a McDavid, a Draisaitl, a Nugent Hopkins, even to an extent of Vander Kane, Bouchard. There's a lot of studs on that team. And players not named Darnell Nurse showed up. And can we talk about Darnell Nurse real quick?
No, we did that.
Just has the worst contract in hockey. Yes. Holy crap, does he suck.
And speaking of that, check out the Sin Bin number 8.
Darnell Nurse versus Seth Jones, Sin Bin episode 8. But besides the point, I just wanted to mention that.
No, good plug. It's a good plug. But check it out. They had a conversation comparing nurses.
Yeah, but the thing that stood out for me, like I said, with the Stars is they kept having bad starts. Games 3, 5, and 6. Game 4, they started good, and then, again, the rest of the first period, they crapped their pants. And they kept shooting themselves on the penalty kill. They kept putting that red-hot Edmonton Oilers power play on the power play, and they were buried right from the get-go. Edmonton scored in their first 2 power plays in games 5 and 6, and it put Dallas in a hole they couldn't get out of. Game 6, as you know, Dallas completely dominated pace of play, but when you outshoot a team like that, you can't score. That's what happens.
Hot goalie.
Hot goalie. They got Skinner.
They got goalie.
I never thought I'd say that, but they got Skinner.
No, and this is my point, kind of. I've seen this before. A goalie, you, out of nowhere, he's hot in the playoffs at some point, if not from the start, and that's they ride that.
I do want to ask one question. Harry, why do you think Leon Draisaitl's overrated?
I said the most overrated center in the league and Leon Draisaitl.
Right, he said McDavid.
Oh, I got it mixed up. You hate McDavid. I have no idea why.
That is very true.
But
he's so bland. He's just overrated. He has no defensive skill.
Who cares? We've gone over this 2 weeks ago. If you're scoring almost 150 points,
if he wants to win a Stanley Cup, he has to learn to play defense.
Why did Gretzky?
Who cares? He's the best player in the league. No one cares if you're playing defense, if you're putting up 150 points in the regular.
I agree. Nobody cares that Nathan
defense?
McKinnon plays defense, but he still does. And that's why he has a Stanley Cup.
Stop it.
But listen, one of the greatest players ever. Did he play defense?
When it's all said and done, as long as McDavid doesn't run into injury problems, he will end up with the second most points in NHL history. As long as he doesn't get injury play.
Well, we should say again, because he had that first season injury, and then he had that other one where he got cut, I think. What fucking
yeah, Brandon Manning gave him a broken collarbone that first season. But other than that and what happened this year, he's been relatively healthy. He'd already be over 1,000 points, well over 1,000 points if it wasn't for COVID, because he had 13 games and like another 30 games ripped away from him in 2021. So I recognize greatness. I like McDavid. I hope they win the Cup personally. I don't really if I had to pick a rooting interest, it'd probably be Edmonton. I'm going to save my prediction until we make it. But I don't want to eat up too much time. Naughty, let's hear your take.
What do you mean you're going to save your prediction until we make it?
I'm going to save my prediction. Oh, you want me to give it now? Because we haven't gone over the Florida and
I thought I kind of ruined it and ended up started talking, and we're kind of doing both.
Well, if you want my prediction, if we're going to go right on that real quick, everything on paper says the Florida Panthers should mop the floor with Edmonton. They should win in 5, at the most 6 games. I kind of agree with Harry and what we see on paper, but nothing makes sense in hockey. Right. I remember in 2010, we had a 4, 6, 7, and 8 seed make it to the second round, and then a 7 and 8 seed. Montreal and Philly, funny enough, represent the Eastern Conference Finals. Nothing makes sense.
Nothing makes sense.
And you know what?
Just get there.
I kind of agree with you, Rick. It just even though Florida looks better on paper, they got the better goalie. Yeah. They got a lot more depth. They got better defense. They got a more well-rounded team. It just feels like Edmonton's time. McDavid got that silverback gorilla of that second round. That kind of seems similar to what Washington had back until 2018.
Yeah. Sometimes when a team is due, they win.
And you know, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but if Edmonton Stars do what they did against Dallas, I don't care what Florida does. Edmonton's going to find a way to win this series.
And that's how I feel.
What they did in Game 6, Florida's going to curb stomp them.
No, okay, but that was one game. I think that's it. They're going to find a way to win. They've been showing that this year. I don't know.
I'm going to
think about this. First 10 or 15 games, right? They were at the bottom of the league, reminiscent of St. Louis.
I'm going to go a game-by-game prediction in this series. I think Florida's going to take the first 2 and make us all think it's over. Edmonton takes the next 2. It's going to be literally 2011 Cup Finals where the home team won every game except Game 7. And Edmonton's going to win Game 7 and shock us all.
No.
That's my prediction.
I kind of am. I'm on board.
Well, you know what? I mean, this makes sense. Alex has been wrong all these playoffs. Why wouldn't he be wrong about the finals too?
Really?
But I haven't been.
Harry, you weren't right either. Stop it.
If you look at my bracket, I haven't been. Now I'd be wrong because I had Florida, but I just got this feeling. It's a feeling. I think they're due and they're gonna win. Now, should we wake up Matt to ask him his opinion?
Wait,
Yes.
you guys stop talking.
Your turn, Matt.
No, look, I haven't watched. Oh well, I didn't watch much of the Edmonton Dallas series. I thought that series could have gone either way. Not really that shocked Edmonton won it. I can't believe they won it on 10 shots on net. That's ridiculous. But I watched a lot more of the Rangers and the Panthers, and again after the first couple of games, you just kind of saw how much deeper the Panthers were than the Rangers, and that kind of showed, and the Panthers were just able to take over.
Game 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6. But up to that, I thought Florida's going to get beat there. But then the last 3 games, it was just no doubt that.
Yeah, I mean, and in terms of the Cup final, I think the one thing, none of you guys have mentioned yet that I think is worth noting is, Florida, much like the Panther. I mean, they're licking their lip. They smell blood in the water right now after what happened to them last year in the Cup final. They're going to throw everything at the wall. I think the series is going to get chippy. I think Florida's going to do everything in their power to win this. I think it's going to come down to details.
Teams are going to do that.
Exactly. I feel just like you're just saying something that's obvious. And you know what? I wouldn't respect the teams if they not the case.
No, they will, but I'm just saying
what you're saying.
The Panthers still got that sting in their mouth after getting embarrassed by Vegas last year. That gives them a little bit more oomph on them.
You don't think
Edmonton on your shoulder is what you're trying to say.
You don't think Edmonton
I get what he means.
You don't think Edmonton has a sour taste in their mouth for the way they've gotten knocked out of the playoffs over the last 10 years?
No,
they do, but that wasn't in a Cup final.
It
Exactly.
doesn't matter. Now they've got
it does. It's different when it's a Cup final.
I don't really think it matters when you get knocked out. You can have a chip on your shoulder either way.
Especially when
I feel like maybe it has a little more of an incentive being in the Cup final. But this Edmonton team's had that kind of second-round gorilla like Washington had.
Right.
And
when
they
were
got
expected to be better. They were expected to be better, and they just couldn't get out of that first round. I think there's a lot of motivation there, and I just think sometimes a team is destined, and they got to the final, and the Canadian team hasn't won in 30 years. It's due, man.
I will say, if McDavid raises the cup, it's good for hockey. It's good for hockey because it's going to bring eyes. Everyone's going to be majority of people. I shouldn't say everyone.
No, but it is good for hockey.
Going to be happy for the guy. So I want to see the guy win. He's one of the best. He's probably the best player I've seen in my lifetime, or arguably the best. He's incredible. The goal he scored last night, that first goal, that toe drag, and then he splits the defense and beats Ottinger on the backhand was absolutely gross. And I do want to mention one other thing. Jake Ottinger did not have his best series. He missed a couple.
I want to say that too. It was an up and down.
He did not play. He had Dallas needed a few more saves from him.
Every game they lost, he had that up and down. He kind of gave up the goals, and then he shut the door. But it was too late at that point.
Yeah,
that's how I saw it with Ottinger.
But continue, Matt.
Yeah. Oh, was Matt talking? I'm sorry, Matt.
But no, and look, I think you guys raised good points. For me, I just think there's more. Like, I just think that the Panthers are just going to be up for it a little bit more, just a little bit more, because I mean they got embarrassed in the Cup final last year. They're in no mood to have that happen again. I just think that, like I said, I think they're going to do probably a lot of greasy shit, because we know that's what they do. But
yeah,
I just think the Panthers are going to come out a little bit more with just a little bit more of an edge than I think the Oilers will. And I don't think the Oilers will be able to withstand that. I got Florida winning in 6.
Well, I'll say this, and I'll refer to Habs and Philadelphia Flyers in 76. Philadelphia was that team that they didn't just play with an edge. They clobbered you with a hammer every fucking night. And for 2 years, Montreal didn't make the playoffs. Philadelphia won Cup both years. Turns out the third year where Philadelphia expected to win 3 in a row, and they meet Montreal in the finals. And Montreal was not known as a team that was overly physical, dirty. They weren't like that. They used their skill and everything. And they said to Philadelphia, do what you can. We're going to match you. Physicality for physicality, and we're going to beat your ass. And they beat them 4 in a row. So I don't know that means anything.
Was that when? No, 70. Was that when Larry Robinson knocked the whatever the hell his name is out?
I don't know if it's where he knocked Dornhofer almost through the boards. He cracked the boards. They made a big hole in the board. I don't know if that was. I think it was the series, but I mean they should have gotten beaten up by Philadelphia, and they did not. They took it to them fist for fist and outscored them and just outplayed them. So they're capable, Edmonton, and they're not going to be any less motivated than Florida. I'm sorry, they're not.
Rick, what is your series prediction?
I just got a gut feeling Florida's going to come out fucking flying around the ice like. They're not in any mood to get embarrassed again.
I get it, but why
Mac Kachuk is going to be the engine that makes that team run.
Okay, but why would Edmonton come out any less and have any more willingness to be embarrassed?
I'm not saying Edmonton will do that. I'm just saying I think there's a difference in the sting in your mouth if you get embarrassed in the cup final like Florida did a year ago versus not getting out of the second round. Like Florida was right there. They were right there and got embarrassed. They're in no mood to let that happen.
I won't say you're wrong on that, but I don't think it means that Edmonton can't be just as motivated.
Matt, I think wording it better would be more like Florida has more of a chip on their shoulder compared to Edmonton. That would probably be the better way to look at it that way. Because like you mentioned, Florida does have that sting of being that close. And how often do you see a loser of the cup final make it the next year? I think Pittsburgh.
I get it.
Pittsburgh in 08 to 09 was the last team to do that, if I remember correctly.
Pretty sure.
So it's a lot harder to make it again after losing than missing and then winning it all and making it again.
Okay, so
I could understand the chip on the shoulder aspect of things. So I definitely understand your point there. I think Florida has more to lose because they're more talented of a team. But I think Edmonton has probably more to gain in the legacies of Draisaitl and McDavid.
How about in this way? The way they're going to be disrespected as for the whole week as going to be the losers, and Florida's going to wipe them, off the map. Like that equalizes that motivation to me, because that stuff that's going to be written and said they should listen to that for motivation.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the Oilers. I think the Oilers are going to come out, and I think they will match them for the most part. I just think Florida's got more players on that team that can bring it physically. I mean, the Oilers have a few players like that, but I don't know. I just got a gut feeling that it's going to get tippy. We're going to see some giant hits.
Is it possible too?
Paul Maurice is going to have that team absolutely jumping at the bit.
But is it possible too that because Florida is that physical team and they've had the 3 series, and Edmonton is not as much and didn't have as physical a time to get where they are, maybe Florida's a little bit more banged up too.
No, very well.
That's a fair point.
Now, if you're asking for predictions for me, I'm sticking with my bracket and picking Florida, because I think in a lot of ways you guys are right. And I'm trying to take the other side in a debate here. I don't want to see Edmonton win. I want Montreal to be the next Canadian team to win a cup. But I don't know. I get this gut feeling that Edmonton gets there, they're going to win.
So wait, you're picking Florida and Edmonton?
I'm saying that I'm going to stick officially with my bracket and say Florida.
But you feel like your
But that's
gut's
a
telling you
bold
Edmonton.
prediction that I feel like it just came to me. I'm gonna a bold prediction. Yeah, so I'm saying they're both gonna win. I guess I don't know. Does that make any sense to anybody? Let me know in the comment
You're
section.
trusting your
And by
brain.
the way, if you like these T-shirts that are posing behind me, you can have one. All you have to do is let us
Buy
know
the
in
merch.
comments, and we will tell you how to get one.
Unfortunately, Canada only for now, but we're
Canada
working
only
on
for
it.
now.
What Rick
Okay.
is saying, his brain says Florida, his heart says Edmonton.
No, I'm not. My brain
Nope.
says Florida. My gut says Edmonton.
Oh, close enough. It's
It's
all
not
in
my
the
heart.
stomach. It's
Makes me
all in the
think-
chest somewhere.
No, you say my heart makes it seem like I like Edmonton. I don't
Guts not
particularly like
Bird.
them.
When was the last time you studied anatomy? The guts in your down in your
Yeah,
abdomen.
I said it's all
Your
in your
heart's in your
body,
chest.
something somewhere.
You know where all the beer goes? Your gut.
I know. I feel like I'm having a friggin' baby with how much of a beer gut I have.
All right, we're gonna move off of this now. Everybody had their say.
Mhm.
All right, we're moving on to the next series, right?
No.
Florida
Oh,
Rangers.
I thought we covered all of it.
Pretty much did, yeah.
Okay, if you got something to say about it, say. Go
Well,
ahead.
I'm going to say this right now. Florida definitely looked like the better team in that series. The Rangers, when I looked at that, the only reason that even won 6 games is because of Igor Shesterkin. Game 3, I think, was a perfect telling of exactly that in the Cosmos. Florida, I think, had over 100 shot attempts on net that game, and I think the Rangers had under 40. Rangers won that game in overtime. I think it was 2-1, if I remember the score correctly. I might be wrong. It might have been 3-2. But I know they won in double overtime. And Florida just showed the skill gap between them. And Trouba is still a dick, as we all know there.
Not good defensively either.
But one thing that came out with the Rangers, where the hell did Mika Zibanejad go? He went missing that series. Oh
Yeah,
my
I gotta agree with that.
Yeah.
I can't believe how bad of a series he just had in general. Igor was their best player for sure. Panarin was all right, but I felt like he should have did more.
Points wise, he wasn't there. Points wise,
yeah, he should have did more. When you're getting paid to be the best player on that team, he had a 120-point regular season.
Yeah.
You should be producing bare minimum point per game in the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
And that's the minimum. And then you got, I think Alexis Lafreniere may have been their best player this year.
I think you may be right. He was amongst the best anyway.
He looks like, I will say this, out of those 2 early picks that the Rangers had with Lafreniere and Kakko, one's gone fantastic. One's gone to shit.
Yeah, and the one that's gone to shit is the rumored.
I think he's gonna get moved this offseason. I think
yeah, and Habs are
at a new start somewhere.
That's one of the rumors for the Habs is picking up Capo.
Yeah.
I mean, Gordon loved the kid.
But yeah, when I look at the Rangers, I just don't think that the only reason why it won 6 games is because of Igor, and their top guys didn't produce the way they were in the first 2 rounds.
They didn't produce.
Anyone else have anything to add?
No. Harry's quiet. Did somebody piss Harry off? What happened?
Well, I had that huge 20-minute rant or whatever about the Oilers.
Oh, okay.
That was
I'll give you
Harry's
guys a chance
quota
to
for the
talk
week,
first.
where he's going to say maybe 6 more sentences for the rest of the night.
Yeah,
he's
probably.
polite. He's a polite Canadian.
Exactly. I got
He
the
had to
Americans
say,
talk
he's giving
for
everybody a
once.
chance. Yeah. All right, let's move on to this here. So this, what I'm going to show you is the top 10 rankings from a guy named Chris Peters, and he writes for Flow Hockey Online. And so I got this through Jamie Bascow, who is now officially part of the Flyer Gonna Flyer podcast.
Gonna Flyer, episode 4, the TK Conundrum.
There you go. It was not what it was called, but okay. So he's just if you don't know, he's a Flyers beat writer. For what's the magazine he writes for? I can't never get
Flyers
it.
Nitty Gritty.
Flyers Nitty Gritty. And he's a friend of the channel and a regular now on Flyer Gonna Flyer. Right. So because of him, and I saw a comment he made on this, just very brief, like saying it was a great read. So I checked it out, and this is what the top 10. It's a little bit crazy, although the top 3, that's my top 3. So this is, we'll go over them. Celebrini, of course. Then it's Levshinov, Demidov, Silayev, Katten at 5, Buyam, who I think I have at 6 as well. Lindstrom at 7, Parake at 8, Dickinson at 9, and Carter Yakimchuk, he's a defenseman from the Calgary Hitmen, at 10. For all you Iginla and Senecki fans, he has those two at 11 and 12. So Senecki at 11, Iginla at 12. I just thought let's talk about the wildness of all of these rankings that are out there, because that one is kind of different. I mean, even Yakimchuk, Dickinson, they're a little bit up higher. You know, that's kind of a I don't know. I found that a wild top 10. Anybody agree with me, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent. I mean, here's the thing. Any of the rankings that are out there right now could be right, because after Celebrini, we really have no clue who's going where. We've said it, of course, on the pod. Everybody, I feel like, has said it. This draft, just like a good majority of years in the past decade, they're going to be a complete crapshoot. Nobody knows where anybody's going, really. You can make speculations. The Habs, maybe it's Iginla or Senecki. Hawks, maybe it's Demidov or a defenseman. You really have no clue who's going to go where. These are the best types of drafts, where you can't really tell who's going where. When the top 10 is predictable, like it was in, I want to say it was 2018 or 2019, I think. I forget which year it was like. It was like almost everybody in the top 10 went where they were projected. Those drafts are boring. You love to see chaos. I want to see Zane Parrick go second overall and cause complete chaos. I love that. And honestly, I love the wildness of some of these mock drafts. I mean, when we do our own, I know that I'm doing one on my channel. I believe you guys, Rick, you've done one on Talking Habs.
I'm thinking of doing a full round next.
Oh, that'd be nice, actually.
But I need help. If one of you guys wanted to help, I'd appreciate it. But yeah.
Oh, shit. But yeah, like I said, I love the wildness of all the draft rankings. You really can't say, oh, this one's going to be wrong or this one's going to be wrong, because obviously nobody really knows until the draft happens. But even then, like, to have a guy like you said, Rick, Iginla at 12, it could happen. I don't think he's dropping past the Flames if the Habs somehow don't pick him.
I mean, that's a point right there.
There's a possibility.
But these are rankings. It's not saying where they're going to go. These are his rankings.
It's just, who will the best players be out of the draft in the first round, basically.
So, and that's the first one I've seen with Catton at 5.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of him in the top 10, but
in the top 10, but not at 5, not that high.
No,
that list was Chris Peters, by the way. Chris Peters made that.
I said that.
Continue. I just want to clarify that. Give credit to the writer.
Okay, but you're clarifying something that I clarified.
In today's episode of People Who Don't Listen to the Host.
Right. There you go. He's got it.
I take the L. Continue, Harry.
No, I mean that was really just the basis of my point. Was you really can't say if it's wrong or if it's right. I mean, you can give why you might think, but it's a wild draft, and I love that. I love that, and honestly, if he's right, shout out to Chris Peters. If he ends up being more right than we expect, Levshunov at 2, I think is probable.
2 or 3. I think 2 or 3. I don't think he goes past 3 if he's whatever. But yeah. In my mock draft, I believe that 1, 2, 3. That's my mock draft. I have it like that. Demidov going 3rd. I think that's how I have it.
I'd be quite surprised if Lindstrom got to 7. That one's kind of surprising.
That's a surprising one because you don't usually see Lindstrom that low. There's a couple of things in there, but I'll tell you what, Sam Dickinson listed there. Don't count that out as him being in the top 10. He's a good defenseman with the London Knights.
That's who Jamie wants. He loves him.
And I think he's right that you have to move up into 9 to get him.
I think a good point is what he makes, and it all happens to see what happens with Iginla. Like, if you guys end up drafting him at 5, Calgary might be more inclined to move down, and that might be a perfect trade partner for the Flyers. Maybe they move Florida's first this year to move up to 9 to get him, because Florida's first is he's going to be 31 or 32 at this point. Of course, to see how we get it, then it ends up being the worst pick in the first.
Well, that's you got no choice.
I mean, you guys had the same thing last year, but besides the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, me personally, this is a little bit of a surprising list. I was quite surprised to see Berkeley Catton all the way at 5. I thought like he'd be more around the 7-8 range. I thought New Jersey would be a perfect landing spot for him at 10.
Yeah, 7 to 10. I thought he'd be ranked.
That's who I personally want the Flyers to get is him or Yzerman. Those are the two guys that stand out to me.
Yzerman was at 14, by the way.
But I still have to watch a little bit of Dickinson's play. I haven't seen enough of him yet to really give a real feedback because I've been more inclined to watch the forwards because I believe the Flyers desperately need to get a true center or a sniper left wing. So those are the two spots I'm looking at. But, this list is interesting. Like I mentioned, Lindstrom dropping a 7 is surprising. I think Demidov could go anywhere between 2 to 5.
He's got a kid. You talk about possibly a center, right? Taking a center for Philadelphia. Consta Helenius.
I've heard about him a little bit. That's another one I get up.
Probably underrated. You hear really good things.
I heard he's been more in the mid-teens.
No, this guy's got him at 13. So that's right in your range.
15, 16 range, I've heard. But
yeah,
he's kind of like that very last guy in that second tier. Because the first tier we all know is
I've seen people have
Maxim Celebrini.
I've seen people have
2 to 14s kind of like.
I've seen Helenius ranked at number 3.
See, that's what I'm saying. He could be anywhere between 3 to 15. I feel like that 2 to 14 range, like Harry said, who the hell knows? It's anyone's ball game. This is going to be
Rick and I have been saying that for a couple of weeks. Yeah,
it's going to be an exciting draft.
I think we're going to see a trade out of the top 10. Personally, I think there's going to be a team that makes a move out of the top 10. I don't know if it's going to be a big drop, but I do not think that all the top 10 make their picks.
Because
we're going to see that.
If they think their guy can be had back there, and there's some good players here. There's a wide range of that, right? I can see a team saying, "Let's take that extra pick or whatever we're gonna get to drop back." I can see that.
It should be interesting.
One team there. And what Jamie had said about Calgary, if Tijigin is taken ahead of, he could see them dropping back. And yeah, why not? They get something extra out of it. They're a rebuilding team. It makes sense.
Yeah. I think anyone but New Jersey really in that top 12 should be considered a quote-unquote rebuilding team to an extent. But maybe Ottawa as well because they just suck at what they do. I don't know if you can count them as rebuilding. I think that's just a failed rebuild. But other than those two teams, like everyone else is really in the rebuild tank within that spot.
Well, Ottawa's just perennially in it. That's all.
Ottawa just sucks. And Buffalo too, I guess.
Yeah, they got a good pick, and I think I don't know who I had, either Boyum or Perret going there. Anyway, anybody want to add anything to these draft ranking talks?
Who was everyone's preferred pick?
Well, for me, I think for all three of us, it's Tijigin. But I'm going to tell you this: Senecki is rising still, and I'm going to say I'm good with either.
Let me ask this: since you all are mutual on the first option, say they don't take Iginla, who would option B be?
Senecki.
Senecki for all of you?
For me,
Yzerman.
Yzerman's not going to go that high, man. There's no. Okay, but I'm just my opinion.
If he falls, Demidov, but if he doesn't. I gotta look at the players available.
Berkeley Catton right there with Yzerman for me too.
Okay, but Catton's still a little on the small side, and then you got
he
can't have too many small centers, or even top 6. How many? We've already got 2 in the top 6 that are on the small side. 3 because Newhook's not that big either. You can't have 4.
No, I know.
You know what? Yeah,
it's for a bigger guy who's.
He might be the best scorer in this draft. Pure scorer.
I know, but it doesn't mean that he fits the team.
Oh, I know. That's why I'd rather get him.
And I'm gonna just. I wrote a poem. Okay, here's a line from it. I want to read to you when I find it. I'll. Okay.
Today's episodes of when hosts are not prepared.
Okay, so here about the Habs. Will they pick best player or pick for need? For where they're picking, Are they not the same? Best player might not fit your team, so pick the player that best fits your game.
I hope you liked my drum roll.
Okay, great reaction.
I gave you a little drum tap.
Okay, no, but I want more of a verbal reaction to what I just said. Yeah, Beatnik Poetry Night.
Poetry by Rick is brought to you by Harry Rice Chips. There's
No, but
only
you got
one
my
in stock,
point.
but there's still Harry Rice Chips.
Hey, Munchos too.
And he can't grab them, and he's about to fall off the chair.
Munchos
The back
chips.
end of Harry Rice Chips. There's
This
the
bag won't
barcode.
be here next podcast. This I can tell you.
How could I have my food next time? Oh, actually, I usually just show the Food Network.
Now listen, so I just want your reaction to what I said is that sometimes best player available isn't the best player for your team.
That's a fair point. You go by need based off instead of best available.
You know, if there's two guys there, one you could say is best player available, but then that other one fits your team so well. And it is what you need. I mean, that is your best player available when you're at that pick in the top 10.
I think so, yeah.
For me personally, my pick, I want Berkey Cat number 1, Cole Eiserman 2. That's Cat, and I think it's just a perfect fit for our system. The Flyers' identity is scoring off the rush and attacking off the rush, and he's been one of the better playmakers in creating plays when it comes to doing that. I think he would fit so well with like an Owen Tippett, and once Mitchkov comes over, you have a line like that with that much speed and an elite center playmaker potentially like that. It could be something to watch.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. All right, let's move off to
New Jersey's going to take them and piss me off like they always fucking do. Fuck the Devils.
Yeah, that's where I have Cat and Gold.
That's what's going to happen. That team always finds ways to piss me the fuck off during the draft.
During the draft, because I'm going to say, except hiring Sheldon Keefe, I'm sure that did not piss you off.
Oh, my God. 2022, that team somehow fucking jumps us. They jumped to get fucking Jack Hughes. Fuck them. Stop friggin' getting ahead of us and getting good picks. Fuck the Devils.
It's the way things are sometimes, man. All right, let's move to overtime.
Edmonton of the East.
Let's move into overtime. Overdrive, I was thinking. I don't know why.
Overdrive.
Into overtime. We're going to talk about the NHL Combine. The NHL Combine started today, June 3rd. It runs till June 8th. Now, if you don't know what the Combine is, what's the best way to describe that? It's the test of their physical skills. They get interviewed. It's like they learn about a player, what he's capable of doing physically, I'm sure mentally and character-wise as well.
Basically, yeah.
Am I right? That it's a bit of everything there?
Basically,
they do
sums
interviews
up,
and stuff with them there, right? Or no?
I think so. I believe so.
So, but it's the physical capabilities, what they're capable physically as far as endurance, speed, those kind of things are all basically they're treated like cows, and that's why it's called a combine. It's kind of like that, but this is very important. It's something I never heard of before doing this channel, but learned a lot about, and it's very important on this. How important, and I want everybody's opinion, is the combine for teams in making their choices when they get up on the podium?
I would like to say it's important, but it shouldn't be the only thing that's really considered. The combine only shows like some of the things you can do, like speed, how fast of a skater you are, all the little things that you can put on a sheet for your speed, how quick you turn, how smart. But it can't really present things like your hockey IQ and represent game flow too.
No.
Does it have importance? Yes. But should it be a do-all thing when it comes to pretty much evaluating a player? No. I think you should have a fine mix with what you see in a combine mixed with actual gameplay and use the eye test a little bit too. So
that is what they do. But that is what they do. So I'm just asking, how important, like how much of a factor do you think How much does it factor into their decision making?
I think it has a slight factor, but not a major factor, to put that into perspective.
Anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, look, the combine is where you can see kind of how these prospects stack up physically to kind of what we see in the NHL. You know, what things you think they might have already that transition well. You know, do they need to add muscle? You know, what's kind of going on there? But also, like, the interview process is extremely important, especially for the Canadians, as we know. You got to be able to check those boxes. But I think that an overlooked part too is this is where a lot of GMs and agents can kind of meet, and you can kind of start talking about trades. You can, you know, kind of talk about stuff like that, because it's not just prospect stuff going on there. You know, the GMs will meet, and you know, maybe there's a particular trade like what's going on with Marty Natchez right now. You know, Carolina's GM could be meeting with some guys.
That's not really what we're talking about, though.
No, I know, but it's just another aspect of the combine. But the combine itself is to see where these guys are at physically. You know, this is the
point. I wanted based on something you said. It doesn't mean that the players have to be the best, but it gives them an idea if they're interested in a player where he might need to work on.
Right. Exactly.
And if they're going to take this guy, this is where we need him to get better at, and this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I just wanted to make that point off of something you said.
But, you know, also where, you know, you might, what kind of play style you want to, you know, kind of develop players at. Like, if, depending on how they score in certain tests, like if they show that they're pretty agile and pretty speedy, maybe not too strong, you know, you can kind of sort of create a development path based on like kind of speed and skill. Yeah.
So Matt was just, for the people who didn't understand what I had said, Matt was just interpreting for all of you. Harry, how do you feel?
A little bit more detail on it.
Yeah, I just bugging you.
Yeah, I mean, you guys basically said it. I think it's a good way to get a handle of where they need to improve, where they're physically best at by the time of the draft, by the time of it happening. Yeah, you guys basically summed it up, and I believe there's something not said that I said it beforehand, but I want to reiterate it here. I'm excited to see who that one random 6th, 7th round pick is who dominates the combine, because there's always one every year. There's always one of those late round guys who's like, who the hell is this guy? Always projected 7th round. How come he dominated the speed category? There's always one of those guys. I'm excited to see who it is and see who takes him. That's one of the best parts of the combine for a fan, I think, because I don't know how many people love, this guy sped slightly faster than this guy on a bicycle. I don't know how many guys like watching that, but hey, all the power to you if you do.
I want to add on that a little bit. Harry does make a good point when it comes to that. I feel like the combine is a lot more beneficial for those later round pick guys versus a guy probably that's already projected in the top 15 to 20. Those later round guys, if you have a good combine and you're, say, like a projected originally a 6th, 7th round pick, that could pop people's eyes. Like, maybe we should take this guy in the 4th or 5th. This guy's, you know, showed some flash that we may not have seen prior. Skates a little faster, turns a little better than we first thought, benches a little more, is a lot stronger, has some smart answers in the interview process. Things like that, I think, are a little bit more beneficial to a later round pick compared to a high round guy. So I did want to just add on that a little bit.
I wanted to say this. You guys kind of veered a little bit off of what I was trying to say. So in terms of how important I think the combine is for NHL teams in making their choice, where Alex said, you know, maybe not as important. I kind of think it's important and pretty important, but it's not the end all. It's not the only way, but it's an important piece of how they make their decision on a player. But obviously not the most important, but an important cog in doing that. You know, and I think it was Alex that said that too, right? What they look, you got to do the scouting, you got to see them. There's a lot involved.
Well, I mean, even like I said too, the interview process. You got to talk to these guys. How they like as people, because we know, again, we know with the Canadians how important that is.
There's multiple aspects that are very important in how they make the decision, and believe me, the combine is one. It doesn't mean it has to be the best player at the combine, but it gives you a really good grasp on what is involved if you draft this guy.
Let me ask this. If you had to put a 1 to 10 scale on the importance of said combine, what would you put on a number for it?
Yeah, I don't know. I could say 10, but it still doesn't mean that it is the end all be all. It's important. I think it's very important, but it's one of pieces that need to be figured out.
I get what you're saying.
One of the important pieces. They're all equally as important.
I wouldn't go as high as a 10 for sure. I'd put it maybe as like a 6.
I'm not. I'm really not. But I'm just saying every piece is kind of equally important in the puzzle that they put together. That's the player.
I get what you're saying. I understand that. Yeah, me personally, I'd give it maybe about a 6, 6.5. Only it does have importance. I'm not trying to down talk it, but at the same time, there could even be a day like a guy just has a bad day too. And I don't know if that should instantly shoot down a guy's career or draft position just because of that day. If a guy hypothetically is considered a top 10 pick and dominated throughout juniors or throughout throughout worlds or something like that, and then comes out and has a crappy day on combine, is this guy going to suddenly fall out of the first round? Of course not. Like, that's where I look at it, and it's like, does it have importance? Yes, but I think the significance is a lot more for the guys that you have questions on in those later rounds, as Harry brought up, versus a guy who you already know is established as a top 10 pick. At most, it might get you another spot if you have a really good combine, but in a draft like this, you don't even know because everyone's all over the place between picks 2 to whatever. So I put it more as a 6, 6.5.
Okay. Matt?
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, Harry, sorry.
No, I put it a little bit higher, probably 7.5.
Okay, go ahead now, Harry.
Yeah, like Alex said, I'd give it probably a 6 for how I would go is I'd give it like a 5 or a 6 for first round picks, and like he said, for later round picks or later projected prospects, I'd go probably a 9 or a 10. I think that's actually very important for those late round guys because you're not going to see if Malcolm Celebrini has a horrible draft combine, you're not going to see him drop from number 1 just because of that. You're not going to see that happen. But a guy, say there's some Randy Dickus in the 7th, who's projected in the 7th round. He has a great combine. He might jump to a 6th, 5th round pick because of that. So I think it's much more important for the later prospects than it is for a guy like a Malcolm Celebrini or say a Yoris Slafkovsky. I think Slafkovsky. When it's a draft like that where it can go between right or Slav, I think that importance of being a first overall pick can be helped out a little by the combine. I think that's more so in the draft interviewing stage, which is clearly where Wright was lost on the Canadians, where the Habs were sold on Slafkovsky over Wright. But I think, like I said, late round picks, it matters a whole lot more for the draft combine. I think they work a little harder too because they know they need to work well for the combine to get picked, I think.
All right. Anybody else? Yeah, I don't know that I got anything else to add to that.
I do want to say one thing before we wrap things up tonight. We did have a loss partially in the Pucking Round family. My girlfriend Nicole's grandmother passed away a little over a week ago on Friday after a lengthy battle with dementia, followed by breast cancer and lung cancer. So we want to say this episode is in dedication to my lovely girlfriend above Nicole and her grandmother. We love to miss you so much, Gilda, and just want to give you the shout out that you deserve.
Sorry for your loss there, Nicole. All
And
right, so where do we go from there? That's the problem.
With that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Sorry to end in a little bit of a somber note, but I did need to get that in there because we were originally going to do that. Cam originally had something dedicated, but unfortunately he couldn't make it tonight. So I wanted to throw that little piece in. But
family comes first. Remember that. Family's what's important.
Family is always first. Never forget that in life, in sports, and in anything that you do in general. But with all that being said, Thank you all for tuning in for another week of the Pucking Around podcast. We want to throw something out, too, as well. We're not going to be here next week. We have agreed that next week we're going to take a little bit of a hiatus before we go into things a little bit. Our schedule's going to mix up a little bit, too, starting in July. But next week we're not having an episode, and we will see you again with another recording on the 17th and an episode brought to you on the 18th.
On the 18th is what?
Well, Tuesday. We release on Tuesday, but record on Mondays.
Oh, is that what you meant? I thought we were doing 2 shows.
Oh.
All right. On that note, thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time, stay safe. Peace out, and we'll see you next week. No, in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. And while you're waiting, check out the Sin Bin.